Hi guys, welcome back to El Pastoral. And so this is a part of my manhwa recommendation series, and so this is obviously part 3, as you guys can see by these 2 videos I have on the screen for you guys. So in this video I'm gonna give you recommendations for some of my favorite manhwas of all time. So if you guys are interested, keep on watching. So the first manhwa that I have for you guys is called Dr. Elise. Dr. Elise is a manhwa that is completed. It has to do with medical terminology, and it's a romance / drama manhwa as well. I'm just gonna quickly give you guys a summary of this that has no spoilers. So in her first life, she was a terrible queen who eventually brought so much trouble to her country that she was executed. In her second life, she was a talented surgeon, redeeming herself for her past life and saving people. But because of a plane crash, she dies and gets transported to her first life. So in this manhwa, she is just doing all of the things. She's redeeming all of the bad actions that she did in her first life, and she's making her way to become Dr. Elise. The next manhwa recommendation that I have for you guys is Beware the Villainess, and this one is a completed manhwa, but it has a bunch of different side stories coming out. So the plot of this manhwa is that the girl transports herself into a novel, and instead of just playing her role like most villainesses do, she decides that she is going to change up the novel and save the female lead from the really terrible male leads that are bothering her. And the reason why I love this manhwa so much is that it lets Melissa, the main villainess or whatever, the person that we're following through this manhwa, it lets her go from a really weak villainess who was getting cheated on by the crown prince and lets her have some rights. And this manhwa is so unique in how funny it is and how whimsical it is. So if you're looking for a more lighthearted manhwa that does a really good job at discussing mental abuse, trauma, and also makes it kind of funny and whimsical, then I recommend Beware the Villainess. If you like Beware the Villainess, if you've already read it, then another manhwa that I suggest is Living Life as the Antagonist's Pet. I'll put the picture for you guys to see. Those two kind of have like the same premise. The next manhwa recommendation that I have for you guys is called The Villainess Turns Back the Hourglass, and this one is not a completed manhwa, but it's really good and has a bunch of different chapters for those who like to binge read. And I'm just gonna read to you guys the summary. After her lowly mother married a count, Arya enjoyed a life full of luxury while harassing her gentle stepsister Miel. Several years later, Arya is about to be executed when Miel reveals that she wickedly tricked Arya into building the bad reputation that ultimately brought her to her death. Just as Arya is about to desperately die, she makes a wish and hopes that she can change her past. She sees an hourglass and is able to be transported back in time, and now she has the opportunity to not get executed. And the way I love this manhwa, this is one of my favorite manhwas of all time, because I love a villainess who doesn't try to change her ways. I love a villainess who's like, I'm evil and I'm going to be evil, but I'm going to be smart this time. So if you're really into a manhwa where you can see the cogs turning and you really love to see an evil villainess, then this is the manhwa for you. I also really enjoyed the romance in this one too. Arya has Arya has 2 love interests, so it's interesting to see how she maneuvers between them. So if you guys are really into like evil villainesses, make sure you check out this one. The next manhwa I have for you guys is also not completed, but it has a bunch of chapters, and this is called Villains Are Destined to Die. So this is an isekai villainous reincarnation type manhwa. As you can see, there's a theme here. So practically the plot of this manhwa is that there is this girl, this Korean girl, and she has been abused by her oldest brothers for forever. And she plays this cool ultimate game in order to feel like some type of relief, and one day she dies and gets transported into the game. And instead of being reincarnated as the female lead of this ultimate game, she gets incarnated into the villainess. And what's so sad about this is that the villainess is also being abused by her eldest brothers like she was in her first life. And the main character is just really sad because she knows that in all the different playthroughs that she's played of this ultimate game, the girl Penelope is destined to die. So now she has to figure out how to save herself and just the odds are stacked against her. So if you're really into villainous manhwas, this is a recommendation I have for you. So the next manhwa recommendation I have for you guys is also not completed, but as per usual, it has a bunch of chapters for you guys to read. And this manhwa is called Please Father, I Don't Want to Marry. And this manhwa is really good because I love the trope of fathers that would do anything for their daughters. So if you like that trope, then this is the manhwa for you. So the general premise is that the girl is kind of bratty in her first life and she has a bad relationship relationship with her dad, and one day she gets accused of killing the princess of the kingdom or whatever, so the king sentences her to death. And what makes this manhwa so refreshing is that we don't see everything from her perspective. We see it from 3 different perspectives. We see it from her father's, hers, and the male lead, who's the crown prince, and they all have a bunch of miscommunication amongst each other, which is so infuriating. But their love and general affection towards each other is so cute that I forgive this manhwa. So if you're really into the I love my daughter, I destroy the world for her type trope, this is the manhwa for you guys to read. So for the next manhwa recommendation, I don't even know if this one can even be classified as a manhwa, but it has the traditional type setup of a manhwa. And this manhwa is called I'm a Martial Arts Villainess, but I'm the Strongest. And this manhwa is actually really different from the other ones because this one has a major emphasis in martial arts and all of the occult stuff. And the general premise of this manhwa is that the main character is a villainess of a martial arts novel, and she is just really diabolical and sets up the female lead for a bunch of nonsense, and she eventually gets killed. I don't remember what exactly happened, but there's a new person in her body, and so because of the fact that there's a new person in the girl's body, she goes to this plot of fixing all of the wrongs the main character did, rebuilding her family's clan. And I really like this manhwa because of its emphasis on girl power, as well as her rights to be the heir to her family's clan, and the fact that she was able to figure out that she had martial art abilities that everybody wouldn't believe that she had. So if you're looking for something different than the typical manhwa type, you know, plot, then I recommend this one to you guys. The next manhwa that I have for you guys is another one of my all-time favorite manhwas, and this is I Will Be the Matriarch in This Life. And the reason why I love this manhwa so much is that it has the trope of the father that will do anything for his daughter. And I love this manhwa so much because it deals with the girl. Her name is Florentina, I believe, and she is known as the bastard of this really rich aristocrat family. Like, she is like the king here, and her family's right underneath them. And so in her first life, she let her cousins take over the family because, you know, girls aren't typically looked at in the line of succession, and her cousins literally lead her family to ruin. So before she dies, she's like, if God would allow me one more chance to fix this, I knew I would have led my family into success. And she gets hit with a cart, and she gets transported to when she was 6. And I love this manhwa so much because nothing makes me more happier than seeing smart little girls. Like, Florentina is giving women in STEM vibes. Like, she is 6 and she is so good at everything she does. Like, she is I wouldn't call her a master manipulator, but she is, and she's already plotting seeds of success. And this manhwa is just so good with its political intrigue, its girl power, its little schemes that it does. So if you're interested in like a manhwa that's really cute and adorable, it has a really pretty art style, and you're also really interested in girl power and political intrigue, and this is the manhwa that I recommend you guys read. The next manhwa that I have for you guys is called Touch My Brother and I'll Kill You. If you guys like my recommendation for Beware the Villainess, then you'll like this one because this manhwa has jokes. Like, this manhwa has jokes. And I have to offer a trigger warning for these topics right here because the manhwa does involve several plots involving that. So practically the basic plot is that sis has a brother who is consistently getting touched on by her cousin. I know, I gave y'all the trigger warning. And so she's like, I will not let anybody harm my brother in my next life. And for some reason, this boy, her brother, keeps dying. And she is doing everything in her power to prevent him from dying. And so every time he dies, she dies. And she's lived like 100 different lives trying to prevent her brother's murder or death in some way, shape, or form. And so the manhwa deals with her trying to find out why he keeps dying. And the manhwa just has so many funny moments. Like, even though this subject matter is really intense, they somehow make it really lighthearted and not that serious, if that makes sense, but also making sure that we as the audience understand that it's serious. I don't know, make sure you check this one out, guys. This one is hilarious. The last manhwa recommendation that I have for you guys is called My Daughter is the Final Boss, and it's also not completed. And this manhwa is really different from the other manhwas that I have on this list because it's not a historical romance type manhwa. So practically the general plot of this manhwa is that this world has monsters that come out of these portals, and there are a different class of like monster hunters that pop up because of this. And so this dude has this daughter, I'm sorry, and he practically neglects the hell out of her. Like, he was too busy fighting monsters to notice that his daughter was going through all this. So one day he gets, you know, commissioned to fight this super crazy monster who's physically destroying the world, like for reals this time. And he's like, oh my god, that's my daughter. And the daughter is like, yeah, you abandoned me. How did you not expect me to end up like this? And so he literally was like, oh my god, this is my fault. If I had been a better father to you, you would have never turned out this way. And so his one wish before he dies is like, man, I really wish I would have been a better father to my daughter. And you know, all these manhwas be wish fulfillment. And so obviously he gets his wish and he gets transported before his daughter is introduced to him, because it's a whole entanglement situation. But this manhwa is really cute because it's also the trope of a father that will do anything to save his daughter. I mean, specifically, he caused her to destroy the world. So we watch him practically try to find out why his daughter became so evil, and he's doing everything in his power to be a good dad. So yeah, that is all of the manhwa recommendations I have for you guys. If you have any manhwas that are similar to the manhwas that I recommended, please let me know. Your girl loves some manhwas, and I need some new ones to read. If you like this video, make sure that you give this video a big thumbs up, comment something in the comment box, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.